You're thinking about moving to Peoria, you work in Phoenix, and the question you keep coming back to,
how much of my life am I gonna spend sitting in my car?
Because here's the thing, a 30-minute commute sounds fine when you're looking at a map, but when you're living it twice a day, 5 days a week, for years, that's a different conversation, especially with all the growth that's happening in the Valley. Let's talk about how you choose a Peoria neighborhood that actually works for your life, not just your budget. And later in this video, I'll talk about 3 neighborhoods worth taking a look at. The direct answer is this. The best Peoria neighborhood for commuting to Phoenix isn't just about drive time, it's about proximity to the right highways, understanding how traffic actually moves in the West Valley, and whether the lifestyle in that neighborhood makes the commute worth it. Because you're not just choosing a house, you're choosing a daily routine. I've helped dozens of clients make this exact decision. People that are relocating to Arizona who don't know the area at all. People moving from Central Phoenix who want more space, better views, but don't want to feel disconnected from work. And people who commute downtown every single day and need their drive to be predictable. And what I've learned is that the location within Peoria matters way more than most people realize. Peoria isn't one thing, it's a big area. It stretches from neighborhoods that are close to Loop 101 all the way to the northern edge near Lake Pleasant. Where you land in that range completely changes your commute experience. The data backs this up. According to the US Census Bureau, the average commute from Peoria to Phoenix is about 30 minutes, but that's an average. Some neighborhoods, you'll get there in 30 minutes, others you might push 45 to 50 minutes, and that's on a good day with no accidents. The difference isn't random. It's about highway access. It's about where you start from within Peoria, and it's about understanding how traffic moves during the hours you will actually be driving. So let me break down the neighborhoods that actually make sense for Phoenix commuters and what you need to know about each one before you commit. Let me start with the most important factor most people underestimate, and that's highway access. The 3 highways that matter for getting from Peoria to Phoenix and the broader West Valley are Loop 101, Loop 303, and the I-17. If your neighborhood has quick access to any one of these, you're probably going to be in good shape. But if you're miles away from all 3, you're adding time and frustration to every single trip. Loop 101 runs through the heart of Peoria and it connects you to Central Phoenix, Scottsdale, and Tempe. If you're commuting to the east side of Phoenix or into downtown, Loop 101 is your primary route. It's predictable, minimal surface street navigation. Loop 303 is huge for West Valley commuters and it's more versatile than most people realize. It runs along the western edge of Peoria, it connects you to South I-10 and the West Valley Employment Corridor. Glendale, Avondale, Goodyear. But it also connects to I-17, which means if you're on the outer edge of North Peoria, you can use Loop 303 to get to I-17 and then head into Central Phoenix from there. And right now, Loop 303 is a great freeway. It moves well. But here's something to keep in mind. As development continues to grow north of the 303, and it is growing, traffic on that corridor is going to increase, and it's not a problem today, but if you're buying in North Peoria with the plan to use Loop 303 as your primary commute route, just know the conditions you see now might not be what you see in 5 years. I-17 is the fastest route into Central Phoenix once you're on it, but here's the catch. Getting to I-17 from most parts of Peoria means that you're navigating west to east surface streets first. That's Bell Road, Peoria, Thunderbird Avenue. And depending on the time of day, those surface streets can add 10 to 15 minutes before you even reach the highway. Unless you're in North Peoria and you're using Loop 303 to connect to I-17. Then you're avoiding most of that surface street time. So when you're looking at homes, don't just ask how far is this from Phoenix. Ask which highway am I closest to and does that highway get me where I actually need to go? Because if you work in downtown Phoenix, you want access to Loop 101 or I-17. And if you work in Glendale, Goodyear, or anywhere in the West Valley, Loop 303 might be more important than either of those. And if you're in North Peoria and need to get to Central Phoenix, Loop 303 to I-17 could be your fastest route. Okay, now let me walk you through 3 Peoria neighborhoods that come up constantly with my commuter clients and what makes each one of them different. Vistancia is in North Peoria, and it's what people picture when they think about suburban family living. Newer homes, community pools and amenities, hiking trails, good schools, lots of young families. And most residents use Loop 303 to connect to I-17, which keeps you on highways most of the way. It's a bit longer because you're further north, but the trade-off is space, newer construction, and a true neighborhood feel with parks and walking trails. Now, here's the thing to watch. Development north of the Loop 303 is growing fast. Vistancia is established and desirable, but as more communities get built in that area, traffic on the 303 is going to increase. It's not a deal breaker. It's just something to factor in if you're planning to be there long term. If you have kids, if you want a quieter environment, if you're okay with slightly longer drive time in exchange for that lifestyle, Vistancia makes a lot of sense. But if you're commuting every single day and you need that drive to be as short as possible, you might want to look closer in. West Wing Mountain is closer to Central Peoria, and it sits between Loop 303 and Loop 101. Those options can be a big advantage here depending on traffic conditions. Your commute to Phoenix averages around 50 minutes, sometimes less if traffic is light. The neighborhood itself is known for scenic mountain views and access to outdoor activities. It's a little more established than Vistancia, so you'll see a mix of ages and styles in homes, but the location is hard to beat for commuters. If you're someone who values that extra 10 to 15 minutes back in your day and you're okay with a slightly older neighborhood in exchange for that convenience, West Wing Mountain should be on your list. Fletcher Heights offers balance. It's not the newest area, it's not the closest, but it's practical. You've got schools nearby, shopping centers, parks, and the commute to Phoenix is around 45 minutes. What I like about Fletcher Heights is that it feels accessible in every sense. You're not isolated, you're not paying the premium for a brand new construction, and you're still sitting in a reasonable commute. For first-time home buyers or families who want to be a part of the community without stretching your budget, this is an area I recommend considering. Here's what the data doesn't capture, and this is critical. Your commute changes dramatically depending on when you leave. The 45-minute drive at 10 a.m. could be an hour and 15 minutes at 7:30 a.m. and it's 90 minutes or more if there's an accident on the Loop 101 or construction on I-17. So when you're narrowing down your neighborhoods, you need to test the drive at the time you'll actually be driving it. Don't visit on a Saturday afternoon and assume that that's what your weekday reality will look like. Here's what I tell my clients to do. Drive from the neighborhood to your office or wherever you're commuting to during the morning rush hour, then drive back during the evening rush hour, do it on the weekday, see what it actually feels like. Because you're going to be doing that drive hundreds of times. And if it's going to wear you down, you need to know that before you buy. And here's the other thing people don't think about enough. The commute isn't just about time, it's about the mental load. Sitting in stop-and-go traffic is exhausting in a way that a smooth highway drive just isn't, even if they take the same amount of time on paper. So when you're evaluating neighborhoods, ask yourself, is this a drive I can sustain long-term, or is it going to drain me? The commute is important, but it's not the only thing that matters. I've had clients choose a neighborhood with a slightly longer commute because the lifestyle was exactly what they wanted. Bigger lot, better schools, walking distance to parks, community events, all of those things made them feel more connected. And I've had clients choose the shortest commute possible because they knew they'd be making that drive twice a day, every day. And they didn't want to lose 2 hours of their life sitting in a car. Both decisions are right for those people. The key is being honest with yourself about what you actually need. If you work from home 3 days a week, maybe that extra 10 minutes doesn't matter as much. But if you're commuting 5 days a week and you've got kids that need to be picked up by a certain time every day, every minute counts. So when you're looking at a neighborhood, don't just think about the commute. Think about what your day-to-day looks like. Think about whether or not you want to be able to walk to the park with your kids after work or go for a hike. Think about whether you need restaurants and shopping close by or whether you're okay driving to those things. The home is never just about the home. It's about how you are going to live. Let me hit a few questions I get all the time about Peoria commutes. What about public transportation? Can I take a bus from Peoria to Phoenix? Well, Valley Metro is our transit system, and it does cover parts of Peoria with bus routes that connect to Phoenix. But here's the reality. Even if you live in an area of Peoria near public transportation, most people find driving time is more efficient. The bus routes here take a long time, typically require transfers, and if you're trying to avoid driving altogether, it's possible, but it's going to add a significant amount of time to your commute. How does Peoria cost of living compare to Phoenix? Well, Peoria spans a large area. There's older neighborhoods, newer homes, and depending on the Peoria zip code, your average sales price can range from $425,000 to $700,000 or more. In that way, it is similar to Phoenix because you have a variety. If Peoria, Arizona is where you want to be, you have lots of options. If I'm relocating from out of state, how do I know which neighborhood is right for me if I can't visit multiple times? This is a great question and one I get a lot. This is where working with someone who knows the area makes a huge difference. When we work with relocating buyers, we walk you through what each neighborhood feels like, show you video tours, help you understand the trade-offs, but if you can visit even for a weekend, I'd highly encourage it. Drive the commutes, walk the neighborhoods, see how it feels. That's the best way to know. Are there other Peoria neighborhoods you'd recommend for commutes besides these three? Absolutely. These three come up most because they balance commute time with lifestyle and value. But depending on your priorities, whether you want new construction, a specific school district, or access to certain amenities, there are other areas worth looking at. And that's a conversation we can have once I understand what really matters most to you. What if my commute changes? What if I switch jobs or start working from home more? This is a great question and so important. This is the reason to think about lifestyle fit beyond just the commute. If you love the neighborhood for reasons other than proximity to your current office, you're more likely to stay happy even if your work situation changes. Choose a place you'd want to live even if you weren't commuting to Phoenix every day. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Choosing a Peoria neighborhood for your Phoenix commute isn't just about finding the shortest drive. It's about finding the neighborhood that makes the commute worth it. So before you start looking at homes, you want to get clear on three things. What times are you actually going to be commuting? Test the drive during those hours. Not on weekends, not in the middle of the day, during the actual rush. And remember, driving is different than mapping out the drive. 2, how close do you need to be to Loop 101 or the I-17? If you're commuting to Phoenix regularly, proximity to those highways is the difference between a smooth drive and a frustrating one. And 3, what does the rest of your day look like? If you're spending 45 minutes to an hour in a car, what are you coming home to? Make sure the neighborhood supports the lifestyle you want, not just the commute you need. When you approach it in that way, you're not just buying a house, you're designing a routine that actually works for you. I'm Cassandra Chavez with the Chavez Dream Home Team. We help buyers relocating to and within Peoria and the greater Phoenix area make strategic moves with clarity and confidence. If you're thinking about making a move to Peoria or anywhere in the West Valley, and you want to talk through what makes sense for your commute and your life, I'd love to help. We'll look at the data together, walk through neighborhoods, and figure out what actually is going to work for your daily routine. Drop me a message, give me a call, let's figure it out together.